Hey guys, so I'm making a new video series which is about the teachers that have had the greatest impact on my life. And the purpose of these videos isn't just to recommend the teacher and to tell you what I got from them, but also to help you have a bird's eye view of their teaching and what it is that it's trying to point you to. Because there's two traps when we really resonate with a teacher. One is that we turn what they say into dogma and use it as an excuse to keep us from really understanding the deeper truth that they are simply trying to point us toward. And the other trap that we can fall into is making projections about the teacher and keeping them other than us, and specifically hating and having a visceral reaction against what they're saying. And I've never had so many back and forth reactions with a teacher as I have from Leo from actualize.org. And I see that is not unique to me whatsoever. And so I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about how I've reconciled a lot of the reactions that I had against him and some of the projections that I made along the way. So I've been following Leo's videos for a really long time. I discovered him in late 2014 after I had a huge anger outburst and was so angry I couldn't sleep that night. And I have a job that allows me to listen to podcasts and YouTube videos as long as it's nothing I have to visually watch. And so I decided the next day to search for how to deal with anger because I realized that I had a problem and I wanted to work beyond it. And so I found his video, and at the time he was addressing very specific, general personal development topics. And so this huge, as you can imagine, a huge amount of evolution has happened with me and with his channel over the past few years. And so the video I found was really interesting because he said that he personally didn't deal with anger outbursts and that kind of thing, but he had really good advice. It helped, and I just became addicted to the channel and went through all his videos. Now, at the time, I really didn't like the pickup kind of interest that he was having and putting into the videos, that kind of thing. But I just felt this connection with him, and it wasn't, and had this kind of love for him as a teacher that I still watched his videos. It wasn't enough for me to quit. I remember at the time leaving a couple comments about it. And so I got it out that way. And so later, shortly after discovering his videos, the biggest thing to me was him saying about open-mindedness. And I was raised really strong Christian, but I'd never before felt like I could let it go after watching his videos. Kind of just like I felt like I was ignoring what I was supposed to be doing with religion, and he kind of encouraged me to let it go and to open my mind. So a lot of the closed-mindedness that I had from Christianity, that discovering his channel really allowed that to melt away. And shortly after that, I read the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and that itself I remember as being such a catalyst. Now, I just want to make this side comment that what we remember as being kind of moments where it all came together, or a book that really changed our life, a lot of things were leading up to that, and you were having a lot of contemplation and thoughts and realization. Everything is one, but it does seem in our memory to have these kind of points in time that stand out. So I read The Power of Now, and I had the first realization of how my thoughts were creating. I had a horrible winter. My life totally fell apart after I discovered his channel. The external circumstances in my life started falling apart. We had the snowiest, awfulest winter, and I was driving somewhere and I saw the snow on the trees and just like dropped the thoughts that were making me suffer and saw the beauty of it and had this release and started crying after reading The Power of Now. And Leo's what opened my mind to that, because My first introduction to this kind of thing is when my dad got sick out of work. I was still living with my parents. I was probably 18 or 19. And he got the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? And that was my first introduction to this kind of thing. And at the time, it scared me. It was like, oh, I can give myself cancer if I think too hard about this stuff. And I wondered about it, but I didn't really embrace it at the time. But it was my first kind of introduction to that. So my dad really got into Joe Dispenza, and he got into some Eckhart Tolle, and he was watching an Eckhart Tolle video on YouTube, and I remember this vividly. I just saw this guy. I hated his face. I hated him. So I'll show you what kind of person I was. I hated him and that incessant friggin' bell. Okay, and then he just sits there and he says nothing. And I'm like, I screamed at him. I'm like, why are you watching this shit? What are you doing? That was my reaction to Eckhart Tolle. And so, Familyo, listened to his videos, understood the importance of being open-minded, read the book, then became a complete Eckhart Tolle fan. So, no more about Eckhart Tolle because I'll make a video about him and all the projections I made about him. And so that's what sent me off into spirituality and going deeper with it. And so I at this point brought in a ton of different resources and religious teachings. And I felt like Leo was a peer. Like I felt like he was growing alongside of me, and like I had this video to kind of check in. And his videos are so long, and I want to address that. Now, like I said, I had the benefit of having a job where it was nothing to me to listen to a long video. And I did get bored often throughout that. And a lot of people have told me that he says the same things over and over again. But there's something stranger going on there. It's not that it feels like you already know some of the things he says, but the way he presents it, and presents it with new things that you truly do not know about, it's so thorough that it gives you such motivation in your own life. And he has this very masculine approach that's motivation and wisdom. And it took a lot for me, a lot of bringing Eckhart Tolle, a lot of bringing different kind of Buddhism, a lot of bringing different easy, love, feminine kind of teachings in there to come alongside what he was saying. And I remember having a lot of reactions and feeling threatened by a lot of what he was saying, a lot of way he worded things. And specifically being female, I dealt with a lot of feeling alienated and maybe perhaps unsafe by some of the things that he was saying. And so those were a lot of projections that I had to deal with. And one example in particular was the radical implications of oneness video. The way he presented that, it was for Halloween, and it was very threatening and scary. But it just so happened that before that, I was really listening to Pema Chodron, a Buddhist teacher who I really resonated with, and she had spoken about the poem by Thich Nhat Hanh, Call Me By My True Names, which was exactly what Leo was saying in that video. And so, I had this kind of beautiful imagery that spoke to my heart of, and it was kind of like an emotional release from understanding that poem. Google it and read it if you haven't. It's a beautiful poem, but it shows the radical implications of oneness. And if I hadn't had it presented me to that way, I would have really reacted against what he was saying there. It was not the right approach for me, and I remember having quite an emotional response to it. The other video that I had an intense response to was his first enlightenment experience happening in real time video. And before that, I was terrified of psychedelics. I was very against him using it. And sometimes I didn't even know why I continued to follow him. Sometimes it was like, I'm just interested to see what's going on here. And watching the emotional reactions and the projections that went through when I saw that video was crazy. At first, I thought it was the most ridiculous thing. And I started laughing. And then I went to this like strange kind of attraction, to then like this sense of oneness, to truly like that he was me. And I had, after I watched that video and like towards the end of it, I was just like amazed, and it was not what I was expecting whatsoever. And my judgments, I had like worked through the judgments in the video, and I had like a mini awakening after that. I had a bliss experience for hours afterwards. And I kept having these reactions and these coming back to it, and that happened again last winter before I had an awakening and a really big breakthrough. I really disagreed with where he was going. I really disagreed with the psychedelics. And I didn't see how people who awaken without psychedelics and people who awaken with psychedelics, I've been following his teachings, and some of the things he's said have led to major insights. Some of the insights he's gotten from psychedelics have given me major insights. So if I've gotten these insights without psychedelics, did I awaken with psychedelics or without psychedelics? And it totally destroys all the ideas that you had. And I know that for me, being female, I look at him as my projections are more likely to be like, oh, I love that, or oh, it's a threat to me, in the female gender. But the male gender, it's more of like an ego and how you define yourself kind of way. And if you really, this is one thing that I see over and over again, what you react to, it does not matter how that reaction comes out. If that reaction is a positive reaction, if that reaction is a desire, if that reaction is complete anger or hatred, like I had about Eckhart Tolle, that complete just annoyance, you're on to something. And if you avoid it, if you avoid what you want, if you avoid what you react against, if you aren't interested to see how does this point back to me, because that's what a projection is. It's avoiding seeing in ourselves what this is triggering. It's avoiding going back to the source and blaming the external circumstance for it. And so this can happen for teachers a lot. And so if you find that you so intensely love a teacher that you're taking their dogma to heart, and you feel like you need their videos every week, or you need them as a teacher, you're avoiding the work. And if you hate them, won't listen to them, have this strong visceral reaction against them, you need to make that a practice to stay with it and listen, because you never know what that reaction means. You're totally on the right track to finding out what it is that you don't want to see about yourself. So what else did I want to say? I'm pretty active on the actualize.org forum and interacting there, and willing to be wrong, and trying to teach people what I thought I already knew, and realizing, even in the videos especially, and typing it out, and trying to tell people the way things are, and then just realizing and feeling for the first time that that's not really true. When you try to teach something to someone else, always have an open heart that what you're saying is truly you're saying to yourself in so many deep ways. And so it always needs to come from the foundation of love. And that's our greatest responsibility, is to always bring it back to the foundation of love. And so if you find yourself reacting, it doesn't mean that you have to follow everything. Like I say, I have not done psychedelics to date, but I've still gained so much from the insights. And it's easy to feel like if you disagree with doing psychedelics or cannot do psychedelics for whatever reason, legality is a huge problem, and that's totally fine. We feel it's a vulnerability. We feel like we're being cut off from this amazing thing. Or when someone says they had an awakening, it can often make us feel like they have something we do not. And that is not, that's a feeling of lack within ourselves. And that is not ever the case. And so whenever we have that feeling, to go back, like I say, to the foundation of love, to see what the true desire is. There is nothing wrong with desiring to awaken, yet it is your reality right now. You're already whole right now. And it's just this magical sort of realization of it that tends to unfold in its own way. So I hope that this was helpful, and I hope it shows you hold on. There's one other thing I really wanted to say. The thing about Leo, the completely different thing about him, is that a lot of teachers come to you with the implying that they already are there. They are already at the end. They are already the finished product. And with Leo, it's more obvious and it's more stated that it's a come with me on this journey kind of thing. And that's what I really, really love about him. And so it becomes more of that he's a peer to us rather than a teacher. And it goes back and forth between this, okay? And so I think that in itself has incredible potential for us to focus on our own growth, but also to feel threatened. And so see that kind of, that unique aspect of him being young. He's not this older enlightened teacher that's like, I'm to the end of my life and I've found everything that I've found and I am the complete guru. He's very obvious. He's very explicit about the fact that he's on his journey too, and you're here for the ride. So, if you find yourself criticizing or feeling threatened, that's because, the teacher in the classroom, you weren't allowed to make a lot of projections on like you were your peers. So that's kind of what's going on. And so back to what I said, always bring it back to the foundation of love. Love for yourself, love for what you're seeing, love for this moment. I love you guys. Please leave me a comment. And let me know what you think, and if you're interested in spirituality, non-duality, and like the way I speak about it, please consider subscribing. Thanks, guys. Bye.